button and go. All right, you're on.
We're on. So, welcome everybody. This is People's Rights Group Zone 5. And we are here, as Jeremiah said, we are people against media censorship. We're sick and tired of the media picking what we can and can't see or hear or read or watch. And so we're here to talk a little bit about what we can do as a group to fight back. We're close to the Facebook plant, and it is a storage facility, but there again, it's got a whole lot of power, and everything comes through there, and they are in our backyard. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the history of our First Amendment and how it came to be and what's happening to it today. I want to just share with you right now, there was an evangelist by the name of George Whitefield. He was an Anglican bishop in the 1740s to the 1760s, prior to the Revolutionary War. And George Whitefield would speak before 5,000 and 10,000 people at a time with no microphone. He came from England because he loved his American friends. Absolutely loved his American friends. And he would come over and he would preach during the Enlightenment period. Now, the left wants you to think that's the Enlightenment of some Zoaz, Martian, Venetian message, and that's not what it was. The Enlightenment is the Enlightenment of Jesus Christ and the gospel message and what it does to transform people's hearts. So George came over in his elderly years, and he preached the message. Well, the likes of George Washington, Ben Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, Sam Adams, John Adams, and many, many others heard him preach. And one of the things that he said was, beware, the King of England is going to send over a bishop, and they are going to take away your freedom of religion. They are going to set up the Church of England, and you will have one option. Now, go back a few years before the 1740s and 1760s, and you'll get to 1607 and 1620. What happened in those years? The Virginia Company sent a group of people over to Jamestown. Pocahontas, you remember the story? All right, so they came to Jamestown. Many of them were business owners and soldiers, but there were religious people that came as well. Then there was a small group of people, Protestants, called the Pilgrims. And these Pilgrims, they were persecuted in England, and they were incarcerated unjustly by the King of England. So they set out for Holland to escape it in hopes to come to America. And you know the story of the Pilgrims and how they landed at Plymouth Rock, 1620. And they developed what's called the Mayflower Pact. The Mayflower Pact is the document that our founding fathers, our framers, and their wives chose to write the Declaration of Independence and of course, the Constitution. If you'll remember, these same men who wrote and ratified the Constitution in 1787, 2 years before 1789, when they ratified the Constitution, they wrote the Northwest Ordinance of 1787. And in that ordinance, they ordered the people who were going into the Ohio Territory, for at that time, that was the Northwest Territory. And they said, bring Bibles, share the gospel, and convict the hearts of these natives so that they would also become believers. That was the same people who ratified our Constitution and gave us our Bill of Rights. So when you hear that it was only taxation by representation, that's only half of it. It's not mentioned in the Bill of Rights. Taxation by representation is not mentioned in the Bill of Rights. What is mentioned in the First Amendment? Freedom of religion, freedom of press, freedom to assemble peaceably, which is what we are doing, to redress grievances. And boy, do we have a grievance today.
Amen.
Right? We have a grievance today. All right, so now you have a little bit of history and what happened to get you to where you are today. And this is where we are. We've got a press that is no longer the freedom of the press. Because, ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to tell you right now, if you study George Washington, if you read about what happened to George Washington, the press vilified him. You think Trump's getting blistered? You think George Bush got blistered? No. If you go back in time and you listen, you'll find out. We've got a lot of people that are supporting this today, so they're honking. If you find out today, you go back and look at George Washington, you'll find out that he was obliterated by the media, by the press. False accusations, charges that were misleading, misinformation, disinformation, which is what we get today. But that's the freedom of the press. They are allowed to do that without interference from the government. And George Washington's cabinet kept coming back to him saying, sir, you've got to do something about this. You've got to stop them. Stop them. And he goes, if I stop them, I become a king. I become a king. And that's exactly what they want. They know that if they press the button hard enough, fast enough, long enough, America's experiment will be over. So George Washington took it. He took it on the shoulder. Now, we have a president today, President Trump. He fights back. He does. George Washington didn't have a Twitter feed. George Washington didn't have social media and YouTube and all those kinds of things. President Trump does. And his tweets are bang on. They're spot on. Every time somebody says he lied, he baited them. He pulled them right in and he got them right where he wanted them. Sucker punched them. Now, there's nothing wrong with that either, because he's not shutting them down. He's just talking back at them. And that's the difference today. But when you get Twitter and Facebook and some of these other YouTubes who are purposely shutting down voices, they're shutting down his voice. They're shutting down your voice. Purposely, they're going after us. They're censoring us with fact checkers. As Jeremiah had said earlier, fact checkers. What quality, credentials do these people have? They're employed by Facebook. And Facebook tells them anything that goes against our ideological, Marxist, Leninist, communist, socialist agenda must be removed. Ladies and gentlemen, we are fighting an enemy that is spiritual in nature. I've never seen this. Karen, you've never seen this. We've been on this earth over 60 years. Oh, I have. Yeah, I have. And I have never in my lifetime seen what is going on right now. This is absolutely a spiritual battle. I'm not mad at people. I'm not mad at the governor. I'm not mad at the mayor. I'm not mad at the DA. I'm not even mad at people that follow BLM. I'm mad at their message. I'm mad at their actions. And there's nothing wrong with being in disagreement with their actions. So what do? How can we fight back? We're here today and we're fighting back. There's a small band of us today. The weather didn't help. We're stuck. We've got smoke. We got people that can't be out here without masks, and some people that just are literally afraid because the media has feared everybody, put fear in everybody's lives. False fears. False fears to create a false narrative. And that's where we're at today. We're fighting back. So I've given you a little bit of history. If you want to really understand how our nation was founded, I have a very good documentary, and you can come to me after this. It's called Monumental. It's about an hour and a half long, and it's the story of the Pilgrims and what they did to get here, how they suffered. And most people don't know, and the schools don't even teach this. The Indians came alongside them and saved them, saved the white people. The Indians did. They worked together and helped them. And when a white man murdered an Indian, it was brought by the witnesses. 2 Indians came before the leaders of the Pilgrims and said, "We saw this man murder our friend." What did he do? Discriminate? No. They held a trial. just like we do here in our justice system. That's the Mayflower Compact. They held a trial and convicted the white man on the basis of the witnesses, the Indian witnesses, and their testimony. And they hung the white man. How many of you heard that story? That is never taught. Why? Because that's not their narrative. And that's why we have a rule of law and a justice system that is blind. And right now, Lady Liberty's blindfold is off. The eyes are wide open. And you've got a two-tiered justice system. One for the elitist one world order and one for the rest of us. And that's why we're here today. We are fighting back. So if you want to know how to fight back, we've got 6 more days. Tomorrow we're down in Bend. We're meeting at 1:30 at the Old Mill District, and we're going to march. We're going to march from Anthony's and the Gap and the little patio between there and the walking bridge over the Deschutes River, and we're going to play the shofars. I wish the shofars were here today, but because of the weather, they could not make it. So tomorrow, hopefully, we'll have the shofars, and we will be praying. Many of us have started a fast today, 7-day fast. I'm doing a liquid fast. It's a fruit juice cleanse. I'm going to cleanse the system out, whatever it takes. But we're going to march, and we're going to march to City Hall from the Old Mill District, and then we're going to go in front of Sally Russell, her home, which is very close to City Hall. And hopefully our shofars will be there, and we will be singing hymns, and we will be praying the 7 intercessory prayers. I want to just leave you with this, okay? Jesus Christ said, the enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy. I have come that you may have life and that you may have it abundantly. He gave us the enemy's mission statement. All one has to do is look at Antifa and Black Lives Matters, and it is steal, kill, and destroy. That is their mantra. That's what they follow. So don't believe them for a minute. And in their manifesto, if you look at Black Lives Matter's manifesto, the first line in the first paragraph says, we exist to disrupt the traditional Western family unit. What more do you need to understand? And it's not the people, it's the movement, it's the actions. So remember, when we go forward and we disagree with people, we're not disagreeing with that person, we're disagreeing with that action. We need to educate them and do it lovingly, and we don't need to beat them up with a Bible on top of their head. We need to do it with interaction, communication, love, respect, and humility. Thank you very much.